If you want to become one of the NBA greats, you have to at least reach the finals once. That's the bare minimum. But once you've won a championship, your name will forever be immortalized. The next step is how you perform. Can you lift your performance to a level that no one can reach? Can you dominate on the biggest stage that exists in the NBA? There are few players who have done this, but there's only one who rises above them all, and that's Michael Jordan. The numbers say that he is the greatest finals performer ever. Let's take a look at the overwhelming evidence. The first one is a stat that even the most casual basketball fan knows. He won 6 championships and never lost. There are 9 other players who have won more titles than the great Michael Jordan, but he has one unbreakable record. He has 6 finals MVPs. I probably didn't blow your mind with those 2 facts, but it's the basis of this discussion. He always dominated when it was time to deliver a title. In fact, we have never seen a more dominant performance than the 1993 finals. He averaged the insane stat line of 41 points per game on 51% shooting. That is the highest scoring average by any player in the finals. There are only 2 players who are able to average over 40 points. That was Elgin Baylor in 1962 and Rick Barry in 1967. Notice that both instances came in the pre-merger. But in the modern NBA, no one has been able to score at the same rate as Jordan. But let's take it a step further. Do you know how many times a player has averaged over 40 points for a playoff series since the NBA/ABA merger? Just one time. That came in 1984 when Bernard King averaged 42.6 points against the Detroit Pistons. It's one thing to do this in the first round, and it's another to do this in the finals. Michael Jordan was truly a different animal. But that's not all. In Game 4, he scored 55 points on 57% shooting. No overtime was needed for this record-breaking performance. This is the second highest scoring total for the finals. It's behind Elgin Baylor's 61-point game in 1962. Speaking of which, guess who's the only player to have multiple appearances in the top 10 of the highest scoring games in the finals? It's no other than Michael Jordan. In the 1992 series, he scored 46 points on 61% shooting. That's the 10th highest scoring game in finals history. It's no wonder that he has the second highest career points per game average for the finals. If you know anything about this player, you know that scoring is what he did best. But that's not the only thing that he excelled at. He is also an incredibly underrated playmaker. Being who he is, he decided to prove this point against the greatest playmaker in NBA history. In the 1991 finals, he went face to face with Magic Johnson. How did he perform against him? He averaged 11.4 assists per game. That is the highest average by any player in the finals, not named Magic Johnson. That is higher than anything John Stockton, Jason Kidd, Chris Paul, Bob Cousy, or any other great playmaker that you can think of have done. If that's not impressive enough, he also averaged 31.2 points for the series. That's what makes this stat line so unique. This is the only time that a player averaged over 31 points and 11 assists in a final series. The way he can score in bunches and still do everything else at a high level is what makes him so legendary. Let's look at another example that proves this point. In the 1997 finals, he recorded yet another historic stat line. He averaged 32.3 points on 46% shooting, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. Do you know how many players have averaged at least 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists? It's only 2 other players. Nikola Jokic in 2023 and LeBron James, who has done it 3 times. But when we say all around, we're not just talking about what a player does on one end of the floor. We also have to include how they impacted their team on the defensive end. Jordan has that box checked as well. In the 1991 series, he averaged 2.8 steals per game. That is the 4th highest average ever. He does so many things at a high level, it's amazing that he still finds the energy to score so efficiently. That's highlighted even more so in the 1992 series. He averaged 35.8 points with the shooting splits of 52.6% from the field, 42.9% from the three, and 89.1% from the free throw line. He was only one made free throw away from averaging the iconic 50-40-90 shooting splits. To illustrate how rare this would have been, only Kevin Durant has recorded those shooting numbers while averaging at least 4 3-point attempts. Not even Steph Curry has scored as efficiently as Michael did in the finals. We've talked extensively about how dominant he was individually, but what's even more impressive was the way he stepped up in pressure moments. If we look back throughout all of NBA history, we'll see that no one was more clutch than Michael Jordan. Let's go through all of his clutch moments. We start with Game 3 of the 1991 Finals. He made this shot with 3.4 seconds remaining to force overtime. We now move on to the 1997 Finals, where he had multiple clutch moments. He made a buzzer beater in Game 1, which is the last buzzer beater we've seen in the finals. Then in Game 5, he made a three-pointer with 25 seconds left that won the game. And in Game 6, he assisted on this title-clinching basket by Steve Kerr. We now move on to the 1998 Finals. In Game 6, he made the most famous shot in NBA history. He was a part of another title-clinching bucket with 5 seconds left. That is 5 game winners that he was a part of. Now think about this. There have only been 5 instances where we've seen someone deliver a shot that won their team a title. It was Vinnie Johnson in 1990, John Paxson in 1993, Steve Kerr in 1997, Jordan in 1998, and Kyrie Irving in 2016. Michael had his hands on 2 of those. Going back to his legendary shot in 1998, we also want to mention the type of performance he had. He had 45 points. That is the second highest scoring total for a title clinching game behind Giannis's 50-point performance in 2021. The numbers clearly indicate that no one is more clutch than MJ. But the Chicago Bulls didn't always need his clutch services. There were plenty of times when he led his team to historically dominant victories. Take for example Game 3 of the 1998 Finals when they beat the Jazz by 42 points. That's the highest margin of victory for a finals game ever. But that's not all. In Game 1 of the 1992 Finals, they beat the Blazers by 33 points. That's the 10th highest margin of victory ever. We also want to look at their dominant performance in the 1991 Finals. The Bulls beat the Lakers by an average margin of 9.8 points. That is the 9th highest margin of victory for an NBA Finals series. He accomplished this against Magic Johnson. Contrary to popular belief, he was not washed as many falsely claim. He won the last 2 regular season MVPs and he finished second in MVP voting that season. Jordan and the Bulls were just that good. Speaking of competition, he had to face 4 teams that won over 60 games. He faced all-time great players such as Magic Johnson, James Worthy, Clyde Drexler, Charles Barkley, Gary Payton, Karl Malone, and John Stockton. He produced all those record-breaking performances and legendary moments against tough competition. And he did all of that while never being pushed to a 7th game. The evidence suggests that we've never seen and never will see a better finals performer. But what about you all? Do you think Michael Jordan is the greatest finals performer and why? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.